Good evening, good evening, good evening. Yeah, I did it that way. Good evening, good evening, everyone. On what turned into this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Wednesday. Oh my gosh, I woke to so much thunder and lightning last night and early this morning. The rain really had its way. Hey, Donna, but it seemed that it made it a beautiful day as it came to pass. Oh, yeah, that rain had its way today. Just giving everyone a second to get logged on. I wanted to make sure we were all set to go. And today we'll be talking about attachment styles and relationships. So we're getting there. We're not quite set to go. Hey, sis. But we're getting there. Okay, so it's now 5:11, and welcome, welcome, welcome to Tea Time with Kitty. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Tea Time with Kitty. Going to give everyone else another minute to get logged on in. Thank you so much, Donald, for joining. Thank you so much, sister, for joining, giving everyone another minute to get all signed in for this wonderful topic we have today, attachment styles and relationship. I sent the information out to most of you all on yesterday to try to hopefully you had a chance to read over it to see if you're able to identify any of that type of attachment in your own behavior or in your own relationships and interactions with others. I do want to say before it was 5:11, I did mention the rain and just to see how you all like the rain. So, did you all hear the thundering and the lightning that kind of woke us up this morning? I know it did wake me up this morning. And it's a beautiful thing to hear the sound of the rain. However, it was some thunder and lightning that was going on early this morning that made you feel like they were throwing bombs. I'm not sure if it was just in one particular area because I know they do say it only rains in one particular area at a time. But if you were able to witness that rain, what was your feeling of that? Does the rain give you a sense of calm? Does the rain help you sleep or does it make it hard to sleep? I know when I was a child coming up, my grandmother would make sure we turned off all the lights and that the house was dark. I know some people often lose power as well as, their internet service and everything that goes with that. So did you all enjoy the rain on yesterday? Well, on this morning, did you all enjoy the rain? I was so glad it was a telework day for me and that I did not have to leave out the house the way that rain was carrying on. But it's definitely a beautiful time to be inside, and it always brings forth such a beautiful day. So we're going to get started. Attachment styles and relationship is today's topic. And when you hear attachment styles and relationship, just drop in the chat and tell me what that means to you. Again, if you are unable to drop in the chat and you want to send your response to me at 202-758-8941 by text, it can be anonymous if you want as well. But again, if you do come up with something that you want to share, and for some reason you're not able to type in the chat, because a lot of people that join with me say they're not able to chat, so they'll sometimes send sidebars um, to my phone, or they'll give me feedback afterwards. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about attachment styles, and this article was a little different because last week, I mean, I'm sorry, prior to this, when I went to school for psychology and counseling, it talked about behaviors kind of being developed between 0 and 7. But I see with attachment is a little different. So we're going to jump right in. Let me just pull up what I have first. Okay. What is an attachment, right? What is attachment? So, attachment is an emotional bond that forms in early childhood when we are about 10 to 20 months. So, that's somewhere between 1 and 2 years of age. And it's based on our parents' behavior. So, again, The attachment has not only a lot to do with us at that age of 10 months to 20 months, which is a little um, under one and close to two, but also it has a lot to do with our parents. Unconscious patterns become set in place by the time we are 2 years old. Um, let's see, by the time we're 2 years old, our attachment style is the core of how we form adult relationships, whether they are romantic or friendship. So we're talking about two different types of relationship, whether it's romantic or whether it's friendship, right? So, because when we talk about relationships, it can be in a friendship way or it can be a romantic way. And sometimes we even look at family a little different than we look at friendship and romantic. So, you all can chime that in as well. So, based on what attachment is, oh, so you did have a chance to read it. Okay, you avoided. Okay, so based on that, we're now going to turn it over and talk about so we read what attachment is. So now I'm going to ask you a question, and you all can go yes or no, or if you want to add a little bit more, feel free to do so. Do you think the type of attachment style you had as a child affects your relationship? So, and we're talking about again, when we're talking about relationship, it can be a friendship, it can be romantic, or just how you may interact with your family, right? We're going to add that third one in because it was just the two. So, do you think your attachment style has a lot to do with that? Yes. Okay. You think so? Yes. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, no, maybe. So, do you think that how your attachment style is, it has a lot to do with a relationship, and it may have a lot to do with how you bond with others, what type of connection you see in your friendship, what type of relation what kind of attachment you see in your relationship, right? So for us to be mindful of that. Okay. Yes. Okay, thank you, Neat. um so now we're going to talk a little bit about attachment styles, right? So there are four different attachment styles. Let me just scroll down here a little bit. And they are four. And Kunika already gave us one, but we're going to go over them, okay? And we have secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, and disorganized attachment, right? So those are the four different attachment styles. We're going to dig a little bit deep in. Hey, sister, to see what type do you think you are. So again, the four different attachment types are secure, anxious, avoiding, and disorganized, right? So those are the different ones. I'm secure. Wow, and you so that we're going to talk about that, okay? Because when I've read the description of secure attachment, the first thing it brought me down to another question, and I wanted to ask: did we think that our attachment style sometimes has something to do with our race? Or our culture, right? So I'm glad that you said that because I've seen more of a secure attachment in a different race, okay? So thanks for pointing that out, sister. That definitely helps. Do your Okay, so I already put that there about does it have anything to do with our race or our culture, right? So if you all had a chance to review any of these documents, what did you find? Do you find that it just has something to do with more a parenting style, or do you feel it has something more to do with culture or ethnicity? Did you find any of that? And I'm going to read over a few. I'm going to read over all four of them and what they are, and you can just drop in the chat as you see fit. Okay, so let me just go to the next one. Okay, so we're going to talk about the secure attachment. Where is when our emotional needs were met in our childhood, and as a result, we're generally trusting and feel safe being vulnerable with others. Hey, Shamika. So it's saying that when you are secure, so that means that when your parents are meeting all of your needs between 10 and 20 months, and you're able to be affectionate and you're able to be vulnerable. And this here is probably not the one that I would say I am, but I can just see how someone may have benefited so much from having that. I see avoiding again, and I think that's where I'm at. So we're going to go to avoiding last. The next one is anxious, where our caregiver um, kind of isolate us between responses being by being unavailable, leaving us to searching for our own safety, right? And a lot of times kids may have encountered that may had a parent that was dealing with substance abuse or alcohol abuse or sometimes even mental health. So your parent is there, right? But they just don't have what they need to give you what you need, right? Then we're going to go down to disorganized attachment where our caregiver were a source where our care I'm sorry, where our caregivers were a source of fear because they were unpredictable or abusive, and so they tried everything under the sun, both anxious. Let me scroll back up. I'm sorry about that. Both anxious and avoiding behavior to get your needs. So, what do you all think about that? So, now we're talking about the disorganized, where you use two types, right? So, that means that you're using the anxious and the avoided attachment to get your needs met. My mom went through a lot of emotional with men and caused me to be more protective of myself and personal life, right? So that's what makes you more avoidant. So let's read about avoidant. And I felt that the avoidant attachment was me. And when I seen so many people responded to me by text messages and responses telling me that they were avoiding, the first thing I seen, I focused on that insecure because it kind of made me think about two different cultures, right? Where our caregivers, so I'm sorry, where our caregivers, so now we avoided, dismissed, or didn't respond to our needs, resulting in a drive to fiercely protect ourselves by pushing others away. So when you hear that response, those of you who feel that you are avoiding, do you feel like that truly affects you in your relationship, whether again it's romantic, whether it's a friendship or dealing with family members? Do you feel that because you didn't get that connection early on, it's something that you just kind of avoid yourself from it? And how do you feel like that affects you as a person, like where you are, having a chance to read that article and to focus in where you are as a person? Is anyone ready to share? So, with my mom, and the reason why I wanted to, and just drop in the chat, and I'll get right to you. I thought it was kind of culture because I feel like in African American families, where in my family, because I know every family is different, we wasn't as lovey dovey, right? So I know my mom loved me, and as I grew older, I even noticed it anymore. But when you come from a family that's not so lovey dovey, it's a bit different, right? Um, I didn't want to experience the same rejection, so I avoided people and building relationship. And that is so key because a lot of times it has a lot to do with culture, right? So most of us speak and saying that we avoided. I am waiting for some males to chime in and see if it's a little different from the other perspective. But what I would say is I think that it somewhat has a lot to do, and any of you all can jump in. Yes, definitely, sister. Anyone can jump in. So, I've known my father, pretty much always been a daddy's girl, but I wasn't raised in the home with my father. So, if some of you all that feel like you have the avoidant behavior, do you feel that, or did you have your dad in your home with you and you still found that sense of avoidment? Because on a single parent behalf, whether mom or dad, right? Or if you're a child raised by your dad and didn't have the mom in the home, it is really overwhelming when the parent kind of plays both parts and they have limited resources and limited support. So it doesn't mean that they don't love you, they're not crazy about you, they're not able to give you all of those things. It's just that so many other things take precedence, right? It could be just making sure there's food on the table. It could be them seeming like they're not emotionally connected to you because they're trying to figure out how the rent is going to get paid before the summons come. So do you all feel that that particular behavior between secure and avoidant has anything to do with not only your race, right? Because we know that African Americans tend to sometimes show love a little differently, or as it has anything to do with you being in a one parent household, whether it's with mom or dad, but it just being a one person household and multiple children in the household. We don't know how to express our emotions. We definitely don't. And the reason that we're not able to express our emotions because we were not taught where our emotions were valid, right? So that means that we begin to bottle them up and say, hey, there's no need to express this because no one's going to care anyway, right? Um, my dad rejection definitely played a huge part. I would lead people before they lead me. That's where I am at. That is truly where I am at. And because my life has seen people leave, so I am going to leave before you. Like I'm going to beat you to the door, which tends to be so unhealthy. My parents, with all of them parents, my dad worked and my mom was a stay at home. So key, stay at home, meaning that you had that time to focus just on the child. And they made sure we were active and loved on us all the time. They planned out activities weeks ahead. And this is what I mean by support, right? Because all the time, parents, whether it's a two-parent household or a one-parent household, it goes back to others giving support, right? And support doesn't always have to be someone calling you when they need groceries for their child or pampers for their child, but you just stepping in being a resource for that child. Like, for instance, the zoo is free. If you know you don't have any children or you have grown children, grab your godchild, grab your niece or nephew, grab your grandchild, and allow them to experience that unconditional love and attention at that moment, right? It's actually affecting my relationships now with my parents and my boyfriend. I'm trying to unlearn things. I think it definitely has to do with race, definitely in social economic. So important, so important. I got a message coming in. I don't know how to be in a healthy relationship. My only two options have been seeing an unhealthy couple or nothing at all. I only know how to leave when I don't like it, right? So that person is on the same kind of end what some of you all are on, just trying to get away from it, not dealing with it, not being a fighter. I am really big on, and I even went through that with my child with the avoidant behavior. That if someone doesn't want to be somewhere, I am not the type of person to force them to be there, right? Some people are big on, let's work it out. Let me call you. I am totally that person that if you don't call me, I'm not calling either, right? And there's pros and cons to that, but I want to hear from you all as it relates to that. Let's see another text coming in, but let me go to the chat here first. And they especially remind us of how beautiful our black skin was. That's so deep. It is very important to me to feel safe in a relationship, whether romantic or friendship. So this person kind of chimed in with the friendship piece as well. It's very, very important to be able to trust, right? And sometimes we don't have that as a child. And studies have shown that children that were born to deaf parents tend to cry less, right? They did a study that I had when I was in college, and this probably was like probably over 20 years ago, but it talked about kids not responding directly when parents are not responding because of them their language barrier, and how those babies don't cry as much, right? Because what am I crying for? You're not going to hear me anyway. So I'm not going to cry. And so therefore my needs may not be met. So that is very key. So what can we do to fix it? We talked a lot about where we are, and we hear therapy all the time. Some people it's more spiritual about praying, giving it to God. But what can we do in our daily walk as it relates to that? Yeah, very interesting. They learn not to cry because no one's going to respond, and a lot of children learns because I am big that kids learn behavior. So we all know that they say studies show between 0 and 7 where behavior and personality is adapted. And we just read this study where 10 to 20 months it talks about attachment. So that's really good information because we should make sure that we're giving it to the generations to come, right? Because even if we didn't get it, right, make sure that we're giving it to generations to come because that's one way of correcting this situation so that we won't continue with it, right? Anyone else that has anything as it relates to it. So I think that trust was one of the things we talked about, being able to trust people, right? So if I come to you, I'm sorry. I'm so proud of you, big brother. So if I come to you and I say, hey, I've been in a relationship where I was abused verbally, physically, all these things, right? And I'm trusting this information with you, and things are going great. And then 6 months down the line, you're displaying this behavior to me. So it's already, I had trust issues, right, with that, right? So, and now I shared it to you. So this is already the person that validated me by giving me these issues. And then I think that I've connected with you so much. So now I'm ready to share it with you. And then you validate me again. So where am I with this, right? Um, let's see. You have really grown. This podcast is great. Thank you so much. And I am always looking for guests. I am always looking for guests. I do want to let you all know that Tea Time will be taking a break in the month of August for a training and some self-care that I'm doing for myself. We return the Wednesday after Labor Day. And I'm also going to be doing some traveling with the family. So we will be taking a break. So next Wednesday will be our last session until after Labor Day. And I want to make sure that you all enjoy your summer and you do something fun and you get your needs met, right? So I know that Chucky Champion, I know that Donald's on, I know that NL is on. So, and I'm just trying to look at the chat to see what other men are on. But for you all, as in the male, do you feel like those are the same positions that you find yourself in? Because sometimes we women see men in so many different lights, right? But the thing about it is, some of their behavior comes from those insecurities or may come from some of those attachment disorders, and so that may be where they at with things as well. You, but we're gonna miss out. But we're gonna have our tea anyway, sister. We're gonna have our tea anyway. So, with any males like to share, like what does that look like for you? As it relates to that, and self-care is so, and I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, I need to fit this in with this training I have. And then I've been doing this go-go workout and just trying to cram everything in. But I said, no, that's one of the things that I was not going to do. Continue to add to my plate if at least some of it is not off my plate, right? So I said August will be a great time. My church has done that for years since I've been joining, where they take off for the month of August and we come back build up and ready to go. How about siblings living in the same household, but they all have different attachments? Wow, that is an excellent one, sis. That is an excellent one. If you were raised in a household with multiple siblings, wow, shout out to you with that. Do you notice that sometimes your siblings' attachments may be a little different? And I've seen those loves go up in the air. I don't know how to do that. Let me see. Hold on, let me find that because I'm going to give you some of those. I don't know what all of these emojis are. Hold on. Trying to find me a nice one. I'm gonna have it by next time, sis. But sending the love up to you. Let's see. Sometimes I feel like I'm compared to a person's past. Wow, wow. But compared to a person's past, that's very challenging. It could be your parent, it could be your sibling, it could be someone your mom or dad used to date. But that's very deep, being compared to someone's past. Like I don't like most men. Oh, like I don't think like most men. Okay, okay. Relationships though. Okay. Let's see. Coming back to the call again, because people definitely love the text and keep chiming in 202-758-8941. That's very true. Let's see what we have here. Okay, so someone says to Midget's response, some people said parents parent children differently. Does people anybody agree? Do anybody agree that may have lived in a household with several siblings that the parenting style may have been different per child? Um, your mom could have been poor the first 5 years of your life and got a better job when your younger siblings were born. That is so true. That is so, oh my gosh. Midget and the person on this other end of the call, you all kind of really, really, really threw that out there, as well as Chucky with being compared to someone's past. Um, our lives and personalities are always changing, so our childhood is changing, and so is their parenting style. You are not going to treat your child with Down syndrome the same as the gifted one. That is so true, and that can be a whole nother topic that you all threw out. But that is so true because sometimes parents don't mean any harm, right? I know my parenting style with Pookie was totally different than Yanni's, right? And then I know that my parenting style when it came to Donald and Shamika was totally different than Pookie and Yanni, or they were somewhat in the middle or different from Sanaya and Samante, because I definitely feel like I had grew so much. And when I think about Pookie, he's my connection. Like he's the one that went through the most vulnerable, challenging stages of my life growing up, right? So I have a different type of connection with him, like a loyalty, like a got agape love for all of them, but just this true connection to him because of where I was when he was born, right? And then you have the child where Yanni was Pookie kind of like grew me into my adulthood. So with her, it was still a young mother. So you're still learning and you're still trying. And by the time I got to Donald and Shamika, it felt like I had this parenting thing down pat, right? I wasn't going out as much. I wasn't running the streets. I knew the importance of having family dinners. I knew the importance of taking each child out one Wednesday at a time to give them that undevoted attention. So I do think it has a lot to do with where the parent is. So let me definitely say this. It's very, very important that we are not hard on our parents, right? We are not hard on our parents because they always say once we have children, it'll look a little different, right? Thank you, sis, for joining. It will definitely look a little different because I know, even though Yanni doesn't tell me all the time, and if she was on, I think she's on, maybe she'll chat in, but she may not. But I know that she sees me a little more different now that she has Yari as opposed to when she didn't have Yari, right? So now I am almost at that stage where I can be more vulnerable with Yanni and share more things that I am not ashamed of because I feel like we now have a mother connection, right? At first, we had a mother-daughter connection, but now we have a mother connection, and we're only doing what's in the best interest of our child. We don't always control the circumstances and things around it, but our goal is just to stay focused. Hey, sis, with the very true. Yes, it was definitely different for me because I was the only girl, so sometimes I got extra attention, and that is so key. You definitely get more attention when you may be the youngest or you may be the only. So it definitely makes a difference. Yep, so my late sister is always sick and always count on her. Oh, I hate that, sis. It's so easy to compare people and for others to compare us. Right. So sometimes we did the best we could with what we had. But on the flip side to that, right? I hear some parents say that when that's parents, I'm sorry to back up. I hear some older children feel that people treat children differently. So some children feel that um, my parent may have been harder on me or older sibling, and our younger sibling may have gotten got away with a little bit more. And I think it just has something to do with patience. I think that parenting gets tiresome. I can honestly say that I am tired. I've been a parent before I was an adult. I was a parent before I was a woman, and I was a parent before I even found myself. Right. So I've been parenting for going on 34 years. Or no, let me back that up because I may not have been parenting. I've had a child for going on 34 years. I would definitely correct that because I do know that I may have not been really in my parenting realm at that time as a child, right? So I think that that's very important. So I think that we should show each other some grace. Especially with parenting, unless even when it's down to your parent that may not, Lord knows sis, I am tired. I am tired. And it's okay to be tired because I want us to be vulnerable and be in a space that it is okay to be tired, right? And that's why, as much as I love my grandkids, I have to constantly remind myself that I am not their parent. It's hard, I am their master degree parent, right? Not their bachelor degree parent, right? So you have to remind yourself. Yes, Erica says that about Raven getting away with stuff she couldn't think of. Yeah, and it sometimes happened. He still had everything. Praise God, praise God. I'm thankful and I won't complain. But I mean, it's very important to know our styles, right? Because based on how we've seen things, it's sometimes why we're not able to connect with our parents the way that we should have because we have things that we haven't forgiven them for and we're still holding it inside. I know I had to forgive my mother. I had to forgive my mother. Oh my gosh, she probably was. It may not have been as long as 20, but I know at least as long as 10 because I had to forgive her, for me getting pregnant, right? Because I went through a stage where I feel like, well, if I wasn't able to have a boyfriend, if I wasn't able to, so if we go through stages like that in their life, maybe it's just me or maybe we all go through. So then where I feel that my mother gave me too much space, Yanni came back maybe 5, maybe 10 years ago and told me how much she felt that me being smothering and overprotecting her affected her with her teenage years through college, right? High school and college, right? So you never know. But I think that most important, if your parent truly loves you, even if they're one that cannot say it every day, if they truly love you and care about you, even when you don't know they're in your best interest. I didn't learn how much my mother loved me and cared about me and recognized where I am at in life until others begin to tell me. Like my mom never told me out of her own mouth, but other people tell me your mother is crazy about you. She talk about you all the time, and that was different for me because that's not what I've known growing up. Like with me, it was that I never couldn't get anything right in her eyes, and then I know that I failed her big time having a child and I wanted to repay her for that, right? So although they say that attachment and our emotional and all these things are developed early on, do know that they are like a revolving door because things are changed, right? And it's changed because of our behavior, right? So if you have a parent and you feel like your parent doesn't say they love you enough, I taught both of my parents to tell me that they love me. I told my brother Mark, everybody else kind of went in the flow because my brothers used to call my mother Baba G. And I remember as a young child, they used to call her Baba J. And I don't know what, and I know that wasn't up with the Holy Ghost. That's how God be in you before you know He in you. I don't know, but I started calling her mom. And after I started calling her mom, maybe 6 months, not even a year, Prentice started calling her mom, right? He would kind of follow through with everything. And I don't know if it was Mark or Chucky next. Probably Mark. Chucky was a little grandma boy. But I don't know. But now at this day, all of us call her mom, right? I was the one who would always tell my family I love them. I mean, it was pulling teeth to get my mother to say it. It was pulling teeth to get Mark to say it. It was pulling teeth to get my father to say it. Lo was said under his breath. But now today we can openly, like we in every conversation, like even if I talk to Yanni and she said to work or Pookie calling because he needs $20 more, bless him God. We are ending these calls with I love you and it means so much. And all Yari and Nala know is I love you because that's constantly what we're saying to them. Praise God. She was so spoiled and went on dates with you. Oh, she was so I didn't even catch that. She don't think she was spoiled though, Mika. We'll have Mimi to jump in on that because she don't think she was spoiled, Mika. You let her tell it. We do the best we can with what we know, right? So notice sometimes we can't give out what we don't have. Give it to us, right? Give it to us. I went back when I got myself in a position. I ain't just go back and save myself. I went back and saved my mother. Me and my mother went on bus trips. We went on vacations. All the things that she wasn't able to do with me as a child, I was able to do it with her as an adult. So when we say we love each other and we're pulling each other up and we want to change these behaviors and we want to make better for the generations to come, these are definitely things that we have to look at. Um, so thank you all so much. I think I got each and every one of you all. Let me just see if there's any more messages. I think I got to each and every one of you all. Thank you all so much for chiming in. If you have not had the chance to read the article, please read the article. Bless you, sis. Please read the article. And now if you don't have the article, make sure you text me and I'll forward it to you. It's really good information. We will perish for lack of knowledge. Let's not perish, right? Because we can't perish for lack of knowledge. So let's not perish. Every Wednesday, let's come back here together. Let's sip our tea. Let's learn something new. Let's take something away. And most important, let's give something to someone else. So, as always, next week will be our last session. So, please make sure you join in. You'll have about a 5-week break for me, and we'll be right back here again. Thank you all so much for sipping with a sister each and every Wednesday. And I look forward to seeing you again next week.